I oftentimes wake up feeling really anxious in the morning. Anxiety. So my girlfriend and I sleep in separate rooms, and I've been sleeping on this horrible bed in my room. So we switched beds, and then we bought her a new mattress, and she just put that mattress on her bed last night. And this morning I went in her room, and I'm tired of drinking my coffee. I see her, and she's sleeping on the futon, curled up in the futon, and immediately my anxiety mind explodes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So he's talking about it. This new mattress is terrible that she got. I'm like, my mind is completely panicking at this point. I'm like, okay, I gotta return this mattress. I gotta pack it up. I gotta put it in the box. I gotta send it off. I live in a foreign country. I need more money. The Amazon isn't gonna come and pick up this box with this mattress in it. I gotta shoot a Patreon video today. I don't know what I'm gonna shoot this Patreon video on. I'm 50 years old. I need a retirement plan. What happened to the Enlightenment? Is this novel I'm writing gonna get published? Like bam, 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 bam. I'm like in the Millennium Falcon and the asteroids are smashing into me. Anxiety is so difficult because there's the feeling when I'm having it that this is the moment where everything is all falling apart all at once. So what would a Zen way of dealing with anxiety look like? So the first step for getting out of this anxious state is to give that mind to the body. Put my focus, in other words, into my breath. Just the intention to do it calms my mind down. Going into the exhale completely, letting it out completely. And then having the inhale come in completely. And then the mind starts to relax a little bit. The good news is, if you're full of anxiety, you got energy. And Zen is all about not repressing energy, not avoiding energy, not taming or controlling energy, but using that energy, manifesting that energy. And you can put that energy that you've got from the anxiety, you can put that into giving. As I've talked about in earlier videos on this channel. Rinzai Zen tends to be proactive. It's something you do, right? So when you sit down to meditate, you don't just let go of your thinking mind because you kind of do, but the practice is to, in fact, give. So you're giving your thinking mind to the activity of sitting and breathing. And this, I find, is especially important when my mind is out of control because I'm really anxious and really nervous about something. And as I said, in my experience, just a sincere intention and a sincere effort at giving my mind and myself to my body and my breath in a moment of anxiety. Just the intention is oftentimes enough to reset me. There are, of course, different ways to get out of your head and into your body. Jogging, exercising is a really good way to burn off anxious energy. And it's the same principle as giving yourself to your breath. If you're running, and I do this a lot, I do meditative running. Like if you're pushing and you're throwing yourself into it and you're getting tired and you're also getting into the zone at the same time, you're not thinking. You can't think. So do a physical exercise and hold your mind to the physical exercise. Put your mind, put your heart into your body so that it can absorb all that energy and all that stress and all that fire that's going on up here. Maybe you're not in a position to exercise. Maybe you're not in the mood to put your mind into your breath and meditate. Well, what else can you do? I remember once I went in to do a koan practice with a Japanese Roshi. He was not Sasaki Roshi, my teacher. He was a different Roshi who was coming from Japan to give us koan practice. I didn't like this teacher, but he was a Zen master, and even Zen masters you don't like or click with oftentimes can blow your mind and give you something to work with. So I went in there and I told him that I was feeling an extreme amount of emotion that day. Now, normally you don't do this. Normally you suit up and you show up and you give the answer to your koan. But I wasn't clicking with this teacher, and I decided to just be honest with him. And I told him that I was extremely stressed. I was very anxious, and I had a ton of emotion thrumming through me. He had an interesting response to this. I hope I can get it across because I've never forgotten it. I was kind of thinking he would give me a turning phrase. Just tell me how to get out of this state, right? So I was waiting for him to say something, and I was giving him a passionate account of my current emotional situation. And I was doing it. And I remember he was like listening, and he was like, yes, emotion. He was like, you just... He did a thing like that, right? And he was kind of talking to me and doing this thing. And I realized he wasn't giving me an answer like a psychologist or a shrink might to my anxiety. He was manifesting this kind of, this tornado of emotion behind my words. And he wasn't giving me words back. He was just giving me that emotion back. And I've never forgotten that. And sometimes when I'm really, really stressed out, I'll do that. I'll do my whoo like I just did, like a putting all my energy and focus into my diaphragm and letting we call this a mu sometimes in Zen. It's the source fire. You burn up that rational mind with all of its words. This is like a furnace, right? And you let the fire come up and come out your mouth. It is burn clean all that anxiety energy. Let it all come up. You're feeling emotional? Let me see it. You're manifesting that energy consciously and deliberately and completely. So give your moo, give your... Maybe that'll help. So I've talked about 3 methods for dealing with anxiety that have been helpful for me. Giving a mighty moo shout, exercising, or doing deep breathing practice. In all 3 cases, I'm putting a halt on an out of control, putting the brakes on an out of control, overactive mind. So there's dealing with anxiety, which is what I'm talking about. And then there's having an anxiety disorder, a clinically diagnosed mental condition. And I was just looking at WebMD, and I was looking at all the different kinds of anxiety disorders there are. I mean, there's a lot of ways to be anxious. There's generalized anxiety disorder, there's panic disorder, there's social anxiety disorder, there's like specific phobias, like everything from homophobia to arachnophobia. There's agoraphobia, which is you're afraid to go outside. There's selective mutism, which is like when kids, they get this anxiety and they just stop speaking. And I feel like reading this, I feel 2 things. I feel happy that science is attacking anxiety. I also feel like we have a tendency in our culture to medicalize everything. If you have a problem, if you're feeling a certain way, Big Pharma is here to give you a pill to make that feeling go away. Now, when I was a monk, I was really suspicious of using pills to solve problems. My attitude changed after I saw a number of students and monks who had psychological problems not be healed by the practice. And I came to respect medication when necessary. But I think even in cases where you need medication to get through the day, you still shouldn't take a medication approach to life. Medicine is necessary for health, but vitality for living and like food for growth for the spirit cannot be found in a pill. So I remember once my mentor told me an interesting thing. We were talking about techniques for dealing with problems, right? Meditation is a technique. Taking a pill is a technique. And my mentor said, whatever technique or approach you favor is going to ultimately affect and even overtake how you see the world. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, if you take a pill to deal with the world, then you're going to see the world as a pill. And it's going to be something that you just have to swallow and deal with, or it's going to be some place where you're always looking for a high. The approach you take, the tool you use to deal with the world will deeply influence how you see the world. It's kind of the medium is the message type teaching he was giving me. And I guess maybe that's why I've always been drawn to a spiritual approach to life. I've been drawn to teachings that get down to the bottom of things, that go to the source. Buddhism teaches that in this world where we live, suffering is here. It's woven into the fabric of the human condition. And some of the suffering that I feel is anxiety. And in this sense, anxiety can be a tool in my spiritual practice. It can be a call to go deeper, to face suffering, to not get overwhelmed by this temporary problem. The spiritual approach or the Zen approach helps us keep perspective. It's so great in that sense. It goes very, very, very deep, and it gives us a very, very, very wide and encompassing and expansive perspective at the same time. And hey, sometimes we need pills. Sometimes we need medicine. But even if we're taking that medicine, we can still have a Zen approach that goes deep and is also expansive and wide. Never be a victim of your own life or your own weaknesses. Never ever be a victim. Use the things that are weird about you, your drawbacks, the difficulties in your life as tools, upayas, to die and be reborn. This is what being on the spiritual path means for me. It's not getting distracted by the Mara or the demons of anxiety, but staying on the path and using the circumstances of your life, no matter how pleasant or unpleasant, as a means for manifesting the Dharma, as we say in Zen, giving yourself to God's love, as they might say in Christian or monotheistic practices, or just living fully and completely. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel slightly less anxious now that I've been able to hash this out over the last few hours. Thanks for listening. Hit subscribe and hit like if you are so inclined. It helps me out on this channel. Also, if you like what you see here, I'm going to put a link to my PayPal and my Patreon. You can support me there. Thank you, and have a great, unanxious day. I don't know. Maybe it's time for me to shut up.